All right, everybody, welcome to the session titled The One with the Videotape. We have our speaker here, Tadeese, who's here to answer any questions. Hello. We do have a pre-recorded video for this presentation for the first half, and then we'll do some live Q&A afterwards. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and play the video.
I'm so excited to share my tips and takeaways during the Age of Conversation Summit, and I hope you'll find them helpful. I'm currently the Senior Manager of Governance and Special Projects at the American Dental Education Association. But in the late 90s, I worked in TV newsrooms as a desk assistant and apprentice in Southern California at places like KTLA, UPN, and KBC TV. To gain on-air experience, I reported for the ABC affiliate in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and the NBC affiliate in Bristol, Tennessee, with my final on-air stop as a general assignment reporter in Las Vegas, Nevada. When I moved to Washington, D.C., I worked at a temporary agency that specialized in meetings and conferences. What I loved about news is there was a beginning, a middle, and an end. No 2 days were alike. The same is true in meeting planning, but at least in meetings, on most days, I know where my bathroom is going to be. This session is called The One with the Videotape, because that's how long ago I worked in news, and it's also the title of a Friends episode for those of you that are keeping track. Tip 10, practice makes perfect. Canadian journalist and author Malcolm Gladwell popularized the 10,000 hour rule. I'm paraphrasing, but he believed if you practice one skill for 10,000 hours, you have a good chance of becoming an expert at it. One way I practice is by recording myself on my smartphone and replay it over and over. It'll help you learn how you sound, communicate, and familiarize you with your script. I find if I stumble over a word more than once, I use an alternate word. English is my second language behind Dutch, and the word that should never appear in any of my scripts is rural. Is it rural? Rural? You get the idea. While reading my script out loud, I make modifications and mark it up so I don't make mistakes. I test my sessions beforehand and complete a full run-through. I also prepare 1 or 2 questions to foster discussion if there's going to be a Q&A. You don't want to leave that up to chance. But practice, practice, practice. Write a script and read it out loud to make sure the words flow naturally. While you're practicing, set an alarm for a random time into the future and see if it throws you off your game. Today, I'm using a headset in an effort to minimize the loud construction taking place outside. Once, when I was working in the newsroom, I was running a teleprompter for a prominent news anchor in Los Angeles. We were recording a live cut-in, which is like a commercial for the newscast, and this commercial was about 2 minutes long, where they're normally about 30 seconds. Instead of saying the word business, he said bidness. At the end of the 2 minutes, the director says on a speaker that can be heard throughout the studio to the anchor, "Hey, did you just say business?" The anchor was laughing at himself, and laughter erupted through the whole floor of the building. I'm telling you this story not to point out the anchor's error. I'm just saying that if you stumble over something, keep going. It happens to the best of us. Tip number 9 is to number your PowerPoint slides. Match the number to the script. I type my script first and then I handwrite it, which helps the information stick. Then I make sure to highlight and feature the number of the slide prominently in the handwritten notes on the slide itself. So when I'm nervous, I always know I can look to the number at the bottom right corner of my PowerPoint presentation. If you can do a full dress rehearsal, it really helps.
There will always be a special place in my heart for the movie musical and for the songs that create their most memorable moments. Here to perform the Oscar-nominated, gorgeously empowering song, Let It Go, from the Oscar-winning animated movie Frozen, please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Tadeese.
Tip number 8. How do you pronounce that? The case of 2 carries. You'll see in a second. Let's say you're introducing somebody at the beginning of a virtual meeting. Do you know the participant's full name and job position prior to the virtual training event? I might be a bit sensitive as my government name is Tadeese. I prefer Moss and will often tell the person at the Starbucks counter, Moss, like the green stuff, or Mas, like more in Spanish. When adding this detail for a conference, having my name written out phonetically helps, even if it's somebody you know. You might think it's obvious, but I would ask every time unless I knew for sure that it was the appropriate pronunciation. I have two friends, both with the same spelling of the name Kari. One person pronounces it Carrie, as in Carrie Sochaki Friedline. But in high school, I knew a person who's pronounced the same name, Kari Macaulay. A person's name is the greatest connection to their own identity and individuality. Some might say it's the most important word in the world to that person. It is one way we can easily get someone's attention. When someone remembers our name after meeting us, we feel respected, and in this virtual environment, it really helps to get the name right. Lights, camera, action. Now, a lot of people are using ring lights on Amazon, but I find that natural light coming through your window is traditionally the most flattering. You never want to put a lamp or light behind you because the shadows will do you absolutely no favors. Dr. Carol Kinsey Goman, who is an executive coach and international keynote speaker, gave the following tips. Look up, not down into the camera. Just as important as your background is the position of your computer or laptop. The best practice is to make sure your camera is at or just above eye level, so you're looking slightly up and into it. Common mistake is to position the camera so you're looking down. Many new video broadcast users sit at a desk and put the laptop right on it. This will force the person or people you're meeting with, at best, to look up at your chin and at worst, look up your nose. So when you give your computer some lift with heavy books, I like cookbooks or art books work great as well, or some other hard substantial material like short planks of wood. Be sure to test how you're positioned on the screen. You can open an application that uses your camera, then adjust accordingly, adding books until you're looking slightly down into the camera where your chin is parallel to the floor. It's okay to get close. It's also very important going hand in hand with the above tip. You want to position yourself at a distance from the camera so you're only visible from the shoulders up. Think the top third of your body at most. Ideally, you want your face to be the main object of focus. You want to be able to look into your eyes and see your facial expressions, and you want that mirrored. These visual cues will better mimic in-person conversations, make for better meetings. You'll feel a lot different speaking with someone who's closer, but not nose to the camera close, than someone who's sitting or standing far from the camera, so far that you can see their pants as well as their shirt. That distance will make you feel distant from your meeting partners, and that's not ideal. Lowering your vocal pitch also helps. In a virtual meeting, the quality of your voice can be a deciding factor in how you're perceived. Speakers with high-pitched voices are judged to be less empathetic, less powerful, and more nervous than speakers with lower-pitched voices. One easy technique to do before the meeting is to put your lips together and blow out raspberries. Doing so relaxes your voice into its optimal pitch. There's also a lot of YouTube videos that you can take a look at to do warm-up exercises.
Let it come out. Lip roll.
Tip number 6 is body language and emotional intelligence that comes with that. There are many books about body language, and one of my favorite authors on the topic is Joe Navarro. He's an international bestseller, What Every Body is Saying, an ex-FBI's agent guide to speed reading people. Did you know your face is the least likely place to gauge a person's true feelings? Thumbs, feet, and eyelids reveal a lot about moods and motives, the most powerful behaviors that reveal our confidence and true sentiments. Simple, nonverbal cues that establish trust, like not crossing your arms or looking down at people. The book provides nonverbal cues that instantly communicate authority. I highly recommend it if you are wondering what are some of the best tips and techniques to do so that you're presenting at an optimal level. Tip number 5. Jean Gardot was a French novelist, essayist, diplomat, and playwright. And he said, the most important quality for success in the business is sincerity. As soon as you can fake that, you've got it made. No offense, but I think it's very important to be genuine in your smile and in your conversation. I won't tell you where, but recently I was on a webinar and the presenter's body language and speech smacked of inconvenience. Your nonverbal cues, like a fake smile, is being watched by all the people your message reaches. Being in the audience, it's important to trust what the person is saying. When I was on air in Idaho Falls, Idaho, I was the only Black on-air personality at the time. I visited a local watering hole with colleagues after hours, and a viewer came up to me and kept talking about how great I was. It made me very uncomfortable at the time. I was very new to that television market and figured she recognized me because I was Black, not because of the quality of my work. She had an opinion for my colleague who was standing next to me and had been in the same market for over 3 years, and pointed at her and said, "You, I don't trust you. You," and she points at me, "I believe you're very authentic." That perception followed me through my broadcast journalism career. Another day that stands out, I had a bad live shot from inside the newsroom, and I was told I was quote unquote clear in my earpiece, meaning that I could relax and that I was off camera. It was a day where I'd driven hundreds of miles to cover several stories, and during the last one, I was extremely rushed. I told a great story, and when I heard clear, I was still in a graphic double box with the anchors. I couldn't hear them or see them, and I believed I was clear because I was told so in my earpiece. I threw my script in the air because I barely made it on time, and I was so frustrated. The seasoned anchor, who had more than 25 years under her belt, said something that excused my unprofessional behavior. The next week, the news team was at a community event, and people were tossing paper in the air as I walked by and teasing me about what I'd done. My lesson is, I showed people that I make mistakes, but because I was authentic, people showed me compassion and I learned grace. I would like to add, it's normal to feel scared, but the fear of public speaking can range in severity from a mildly disruptive anxiety to full-fledged crippling disorder that can cause serious disruptions to your professional life. But for most people, there's still no avoiding public speaking. I type my script first, then I handwrite it. It helps the information stick, and I really feel like that is what gives me the confidence. Makeup is the next tip that I wanted to share with you all. Makeup makes you look the most polished. It helps your skin look even for both men and women in the newsroom. They all wear it. I tend to do light makeup, so it enhances, but it doesn't distract the viewer. I recommend watching YouTube or TikTok videos on the application of makeup. It helps when you dress the part. For some people, it's new tennis shoes or a suit jacket that gives them that confidence. It's going to be something different for everyone. Makeup may not be normal for you, but it does enhance how you look. Tip number 3. I was reminded of this earlier. People are going to talk about you no matter what you do, so you might as well do whatever brings you joy and live your best life. I placed this here because I wanted to give people a reminder that yes, it is tough to present to so many people at any given time, and you are going to be judged on what it is that you're saying. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have reminders like this or a post-it note that makes you smile to remember that everybody is going through the same experience right now. So give yourself that grace and understanding, and don't worry so much about how the message is going to be received. Takeaway number 2, reach out to your resources. Recently, my association hired Tracy King and her company, which is called Inspired. She gave our organization a 2-day course on how to be prepared for this virtual environment. She's developed an entire curriculum on the process and has workbooks, and she is a content expert. If you have it in your budget, I can't recommend her highly enough. Takeaway number 1, please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have a smartphone, you can use the QR code and we will get connected. I certainly hope I've made you think about the virtual environment that we're in and given you some tips and takeaways. I want to thank the team for allowing me to share my tips and takeaways during the Age of Conversation Summit. Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to open up the floor if anybody had any questions at all about tips or something that they might be struggling with as it pertains to doing virtual meetings, things like where to look or lighting or any other questions. Not all at once.
Hi, Moss. My name is Diane, and I also live in the Washington, D.C. area, so I would love to connect with you. And I actually teach at GW, at George Washington University, and this is something that we have started to think about maybe having a course on, is, you know, how to present, just because everything is a virtual and online environment now. So I really enjoyed your tips. So thank you for putting that together. And I agree with the person that made the comment that you were authentic. So I just wanted to come on and commend you for that, and say that you had some really great tips. So appreciate it.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that a tremendous amount. And I think that the other piece that if you are creating a curriculum for like an institution, I think that a couple of things to consider. It would be the pieces that made it the best were actually doing it. So, I mean, in this virtual environment, I think that you have to have things crashing down, making noise, that kind of thing, to make it disruptive and as real, true to life as possible, because I think that it really helps get people used to the distractions, the kids walking up, the dog barking, all of the other things that take place. So I think it's really good that you're thinking about creating that as a class. And if I can help in any way, let me know. I'd be happy to connect.
Well, and you know, it's not just a matter of attending a meeting or leading a meeting. It's also, this is how people are interviewing. And, you know, everything seems to be from here up. You know, that's how we're all being judged and all of that kind of thing. So it's just a really interesting environment that we're in right now. So.
Yeah, I know, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely, it's been challenging. One of the things, a friend of mine is actually conducting interviews right now, and somebody showed up to the meeting 2 minutes late to the Zoom conversation late. And when they showed up late, they were like, the work that they do is critical and it's important to be on time, if not early. But do you excuse somebody who has a technical issue? Or, you know, at what point do you say that this is okay? It's definitely a completely different environment. And that was something I had not thought of before. So I definitely agree. It's going to be the way for a while. And I think that a lot of companies are also talking about people just staying completely virtual. My company is not, but there are many out there. And I think with those announcements too, you have to find a way to present yourself, know where to look, feel comfortable, confident. It is, I was reminded, like I said, a lot. It just reminded me of my early TV days. One of the things that we also used to do is we would stand up together in a room, and it would be about 4 reporters. And then one of the designated people, it was like a game, and they would have to say some kind of crazy outburst or run through flailing arms just to get people to be caught off guard. And it's like, no, keep going, keep going. So it really, that exercise, doing that really helped, and I was much better at it. You know, at the time I was doing it every single day, but yeah, now it's definitely something crashed the other day, and I literally I was mid-thought, mid-sentence, and then I was like, oh, I need to keep going because I'm having an important conversation. So yeah, it's definitely been in that, and so yeah, I think that it's all connected, and the more you get used to it or accustomed to it, I think the better it'll be. I see Wanda's question. Do you recommend Toastmasters International to get over fears? I think that every Toastmasters is different. There are some that run an excellent program, and I think that it really does help to get up in front of strangers and get used to the idea of presenting. I think that you can potentially have more success by just using your smartphone. I think that if you just watch yourself, you set it up, you record it. If you need to, get a tripod for it, and really just practice presenting, and then have some kind of an alarm go off at a random designated time, so you don't even remember that it's happening, and you just have a conversation on camera. And then when the alarm goes off, what do you do? How do you react when that sound or that alert happens? I think that it's easier to do it on your own versus incorporating another room. Particularly right now, are people, because they can't meet right now anyway during COVID. I think that when things settle down, we have a vaccine or medication, and people start doing things in person again, I think that it could help, but it just really depends on the particular club or group. Everyone is different. I've had friends that have had success, and I've had friends that said it wasn't worth it. So it just really depends on, I've never participated, so I don't know exactly all of the things, but the gist I get is that you can create those environments for yourself.
So I just had, so one of my students is actually in this with us. And I think we're doing something else and had to join a little bit late. Is it possible for us to put in the notes section or something, the listing of the different tips?
Sure, yeah, sure, I'm happy to. And I think that the recording, I'm gonna lean on the room parent for this, Michelle. There is gonna be a recording available after, but I'm happy to summarize the 10 things for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Yeah, and yes, there will be a recording available afterwards.
All right. Are there any other questions or anything else that comes to mind?
I just wanted to echo Diane. I mean, some really, really great tips. I feel like there's a lot to think about, even though we only see like this part of us. You know, now everyone's focused on your little facial features and like your expressions and your reactions to things. And, you know, the makeup thing, I mean, I was thinking about it, like I probably look a little shiny right now, so I probably should have put some makeup on. So just like little things that I probably wouldn't have had to think about. Thank you. I probably, you know, things that you wouldn't normally think about. Yeah, so it's a lot to digest and it's a lot to consider, but really great tips for sure. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, one of the other things that I just wanted to mention, just because this has been very top of mind for me over the last several weeks, is especially women, be very careful what you wear and the lighting, the way that it is showing you, because if you're wearing something that is very sheer, you know, it's very see-through, and if there's lighting that's coming from the back or something like that, you can have some really embarrassing moments. And I'm sure we've all heard of the crazy things that have happened with, you know, someone walking through and you know, getting out of the shower or whatever, and, you know, not realizing that you still have the sound on, you know, different things like that. So just try and be aware of all the different things. And one of the great tips that I have started to try to implement is to have sort of the virtual background, because I found that people were getting so kind of consumed with like what was behind me or what was on my desk, or, you know, they get distracted. And so maybe just having something that is going to help them with that, to be a little bit less distracted. So, and, you know, not everyone wants to share their living space and their, you know, we've gone into everyone's homes at this point. So that's another aspect of all of this wonderful online and virtual world that we're living in.
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more. It was, I definitely tried to make my home as muted as possible so that I would be the focal point. And I tried to follow my own advice. I have cookbooks down here to raise it up to the right height. And then, yeah, so I definitely feel like it is, all of it happens, it like, it's just things you don't think about or didn't have to think about. So, and I also try to wear solid colors. I feel like not anything patterned, because that also can appear funny on camera. So that's another piece that I definitely recommend. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is just a muted color, or it could be any color, but as long as it's solid, it helps tremendously.
Solids with straps, right? Something,
Yes,
something up on the shoulder.
Yes.
Well, that's the other thing is, you know, with women, well, like we'll be wearing a spaghetti strap or something, and it looks like you're not wearing anything. So
Yeah.
I know it's horrible, but we have to be a little bit more aware of what we are wearing online. So
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more.
Room raiders.
What is room raiders, Wanda? Unless it's just me, I don't know what that is.
I don't know it either.
I'm wondering if it's like they're going around your room and like judging
Oh,
you. That's what I was thinking.
Oh,
But
yeah. I mean, I think that now all of the messaging has gone out, even on Zoom, about, you know, password protecting everything, getting to places early, 5 to 10 minutes, making sure that you shut completely down at the end of every day, because I don't know about you all, but I feel like everybody's been pushing an update every other day. So those are some of the things too, where it's all you can do is prepare as best as you can. Things are going to happen the way that they do. So yeah.
oh, it is a website.
Oh, I didn't know that. So what is Room Raiders then, as a website that rates your background? So the actual background, that's cool. I'll have to take a look at that.
see,
Yeah,
we
me too.
we all learned something new.
Room raiders. All good, Wanda.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. I wonder how they rate, like just clarity, or I don't know.
Well, so I'm actually one of the room parents in a different session, and that was one of the things that we go through with the speakers is, you know, making sure that their background is good and that their lighting is good and all that kind of thing. So that's a great tip, to be able to tell them that they could go to, you know, a website. But one of the things that we have been seeing a lot more of in the event industry is the use of a virtual background to where it's branded for the event. So, you know, just like we have the room parents, so that they're easily identifiable in each room. So, you know, doing different things like that can be helpful too. It helps to brand.
Yeah, we have that at my association, and they keep updating the packages. So every time that we have a package, it's just different things for conferences and meetings that are upcoming. So, you know, if we're trying to bring awareness to something, that's what, you know, is supposed to be our background. And it's been a good way to like market and like identify people, like Michelle. It's a good point.
Yeah, I've seen some virtual panels too, where they'll have the panelist name too, and on top of the event name, and like all the information that you would need, and then of course the branding. So it is important to have, I think.
Well, and we will see this in the recording, but you know, as each person is speaking, the name that is associated with you will come up in the recording, so that you know who it is. So I think you know, different software platforms are getting more intelligent about what we need when it comes to video conferencing, and you know, we get a Zoom update, it seems like every couple of days.
Right.
So, and they're constantly having to adjust, which they're doing an amazing job with the short amount of time that they've been given. So especially with schools, and you know, everyone is using these platforms. So.
All right, I think it looks like we're at time. So thanks everybody for joining this conversation with Moss. If you'd like to continue the conversation with her, she had that LinkedIn QR code in that presentation where you can watch the recording of in a couple weeks or so. And Moss, did you want to give any other way to touch base with you?
The easiest is LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
So,
okay.
yeah, and it's Mas Tadeese, Mastadesse. So in the search, it's my full legal name, but when you search it, Mas Tadeese will populate.
All right, perfect. So we're moving into the last session of the day before the closing session. Thanks, everybody. Feel free to stay if you'd like to attend the next session, which is titled The One Where We Really Talk with Nancy Rosenbaum. Thank you.